There is a very specific moment when a woman begins to pull away from you. And it is not when she stops replying, and it is not when her tone changes. It happens before that, much earlier. You are still there, doing the same things, saying the same words, believing everything is under control. But internally, something in her has already shifted, and you did not notice. She is still present, still responding, still smiling. But she no longer feels the same. And this begins in silence. Most men believe loss of interest comes from something big, a clear mistake, an argument, another person. But the truth is more uncomfortable. She starts pulling away in the details you ignore, in the way you listen without really hearing, in the way you respond without presence, in the moment you think everything is fine, but she has already started disconnecting. And here is what almost no one tells you. When a woman visibly pulls away emotionally, she has already gone through an internal process you never saw. This is not about what she does when she loses interest. It is about what happens before that. And if you do not understand this process, you will keep losing without ever knowing when it started. Now pay attention, because the first sign is not what you think. It starts in a way that does not stand out. There is no big mistake, no sudden change. It is subtle, almost invisible, but constant. You still talk to her, still respond, still show up physically. But emotionally, you begin operating on autopilot, and she notices. Not because you said something wrong, but because you stopped truly being there. A woman connects through presence. It is not about how much time you spend, but how present you are. When you listen without depth, when you respond without intention, when you look at her without truly seeing her, a small rupture begins. And this rupture does not create immediate conflict. It creates internal silence. She starts to wonder, even if unconsciously, does he still see me the same way? And when that answer becomes uncertain, something inside her pulls back. You think everything is normal because there is no complaint, no confrontation, but that is exactly where it becomes dangerous. Because when a woman feels she has to ask for attention, she is already disconnecting. At this stage, she has not left, but she has already started to, and the next step is even more subtle and harder to see. It is not one big mistake that changes everything. It is small patterns repeated over time that weaken the connection. Simple things, predictable responses, shallow conversations, lack of real curiosity about what she feels. You begin treating her like someone who is already guaranteed in your life. And that is exactly when attraction starts to decline. A woman does not pull away only because of lack of affection. She pulls away because of lack of continuous emotional presence. When you stop noticing details, when you stop reacting with genuine interest, when you fail to sense changes in her mood, it communicates something powerful without words. It tells her she is no longer an emotional priority. And that creates a silent effect. She invests less, responds with less energy, shares less about herself, not because she wants to pull away, but because she no longer feels space to expand within the relationship. And here is the critical point. The more you interpret this as normal, the more she understands you are not aware of what is happening. And when a woman feels unseen, she stops trying to be seen. At that moment, the relationship enters a dangerous state. Because now, it is not about connection. It is about silent adaptation. And what comes next is where most men think everything is finally at peace. There is a moment when everything seems calm, fewer arguments, less tension, less emotional friction, and you think things have stabilized, but what you're seeing is not balance. It is reduced expectation. She no longer reacts the same way because she stopped expecting from you what she once did. The intensity that once created conflict came from emotional investment. She cared. She tried. She wanted to be understood. Now she observes in silence. You speak, she responds. You reach out, she answers. But something essential is missing: the desire to deeply engage. This is the most deceptive stage, because to you it looks like peace. To her, it is organized emotional distance. She is no longer fighting for connection. She is learning to live without it. And the longer you remain comfortable in this stage, the more she solidifies this new dynamic. No expectation, no depth, no intensity. At this point, she is no longer trying to save the relationship. She is adapting to the absence of it. And from here, what happens next is not about small signs anymore. It is about an internal break you cannot fix with surface-level actions. There is a moment when something inside her closes. It is not dramatic. It is not visible. But it is final. You can still touch her, still talk to her, still try to reconnect. But the response no longer comes from the same place. Because emotionally, she is already gone. This is when she stops reacting for real. There is no frustration, no effort to fix things, no attempt to restore what is broken. And many men interpret this as maturity, as stability, as growth. But it is not. It is disengagement. She no longer tries because she has already concluded internally that it is no longer worth the energy. And when a woman reaches that conclusion, it did not happen overnight. It is the result of a process you did not see. At this stage, even good moments lose impact. Even attempts to reconnect feel too late, because it is not about what you do now, it is about what was not built before. And here is the hardest truth. When emotional connection is broken at this level, isolated actions cannot restore it. Because desire is not sustained by occasional effort. It is sustained by continuity of presence. And when that continuity is broken long enough, what remains is not a crisis. It is absence. Most men believe this is purely emotional. That if they become more attentive now, more present now, more affectionate now, things will return. But it does not work like that. Because what sustains connection is not isolated behavior. It is a consistent internal state. And that state is not just about what you do. It is about who you are internally. Your energy, your presence, your emotional stability, your awareness. When these begin to fail, even subtly, she feels it. Not logically, not consciously, but instinctively. Attraction does not respond only to visible actions. It responds to deeper signals you transmit without noticing. And when those signals reflect disconnection, distraction, or lack of direction, something inside her responds. She withdraws. That is why surface-level fixes do not work. Because the issue is not just behavior. It is the pattern. If you made it this far, you understand it was not a single mistake. It was a process. And processes can be interrupted, but only when you see what is behind them. Connection is not sustained by intention alone. It responds to internal alignment. When you are present, grounded, aware, that is felt. And that state triggers something in her. She engages. She responds. She moves closer. Now think about the opposite. When your energy fluctuates, when your attention is fragmented, when you are physically present but mentally distant, that is also felt. And that creates distance. Not by decision, but by instinct. There are internal factors that shape this. Energy, mental clarity, emotional balance, even physical states that influence how you show up. And when those are off, your presence changes. That changes everything. Now you know where things begin to break. Not at the end. Not at the argument. Not when she leaves. Before that. In what you ignore. In what you repeat. In what you fail to see. This changes how you approach any relationship. You stop reacting late. You start observing early. You listen differently. You notice more. Not to control, but to understand. And most importantly, to adjust yourself. Because when you change your state, the dynamic changes with it. She feels it. She responds. Naturally. You do not lose a woman when she leaves. You lose her when you stop noticing. And that is rarely obvious. There is no clear warning, no loud signal. Only a quiet process happening while you believe everything is fine. And when you finally see it, it is already the result. But once you understand this, everything changes. You stop reacting, you start seeing. This goes deeper than behavior. It is about coherence. When a man is not aligned internally, it shows. In how he speaks, in how he reacts, in how he carries himself. And even if he tries to compensate, something feels off. She feels that, and that breaks attraction silently. Because attraction responds to what is perceived beyond words. Consistency creates security. And security sustains connection. You stop depending on obvious signs. You begin noticing earlier, before distance, before silence, before disconnection. You stop trying to regain interest. You stop losing it. You become consistent. And that changes everything. There is one mistake most men make after understanding all this. They watch. They agree. They reflect. And then they go back to the same pattern. Because understanding does not change anything. Action does. If you do not adjust your awareness, your presence, your patterns, this cycle will repeat. With the same woman. Or the next. Because it was never about her. It was about what you were not seeing. And now you see. The question is no longer why she pulled away. The question is, will you notice before it happens again? Or only after? Because a woman's silence never comes from nowhere. It always starts somewhere subtle. But now, you see it.